So, good afternoon, everybody. Nice to see you all here. My name is Jukka Pekola. I'm the director of InstituteQ, and I'm a professor here at Aalto-Yliopisto in the physics department. So, my field is low-temperature quantum devices and phenomena. So, why we are here today is because of the quantum strategy, but I start by introducing InstituteQ, which has been the kind of the basis for the activities in quantum in Finland for some time now. So it was founded in 2021 in the spring. It was founded to really promote quantum science on several aspects. The initial founders were Aalto-Yliopisto, then University of Helsinki, and VTT, here in the metropolitan area. And the reason for this combination was that these were kind of the partners in the Center of Excellence that was running at that time. Center of Excellence funded by the Research Council of Finland. And the InstituteQ's mission was to really raise the readiness of Finnish society for this potential that and implications of quantum technologies, not only for science but for society and economy at large. And we wanted to team up the forces, the main players here, really to have benefits in research, education, and innovations. Not to forget the infrastructures. And it was indeed, as I said, we founded it among these three partners, but in the process, which actually was taking a few years, we finally this year, August, we expanded the InstituteQ to cover five other universities, those universities that are somehow have activities in quantum science and technology, meaning the Tampere University, the University of Eastern Finland, University of Jyväskylä, University of Oulu, and University of Turku. And as a very important partner, also CSC, the IT Center for Science, which is an active partner now. So as I already mentioned, the kind of the pillars of the operation from the start have been these three things here. So naturally, the research is something traditional, long-term thing. So this we want to promote and find ways to have common points of collaboration, and also to have funding opportunities where we could really work nationally together, and also the infrastructure development. Then very important is the EduQ, which is the education. So we have an active team there in the education part, where we don't want to only advance the university level education, but we also have plans and already some activities in retraining in the companies and education in all levels, actually. So it's natural that quantum technologies needs much more than just university education. And there was a survey done last year, which actually gave us a lot of advice in which directions to go. And then, last but not least, we have InnoQ, which is really, as the name says, it's for the innovation and ecosystem development. And this is of course very important, because Finland has quite a lot of industry already in this area. We have some big flagships in this, for instance, Bluefors, which is kind of the enabling technologies in quantum technology, and IQM just as two examples. So this rescue team is led by Aalto, EduQ by University of Helsinki, and InnoQ naturally by VTT out of these three founding members. So what is very briefly, why we are here somehow? Finland has Finland has been doing quantum technologies much before quantum technology existed as such. So we have had the famous, I would say, famous low temperature laboratory and low temperature research here on this campus, just a few hundred meters from here, already since 1960s. And initially, of course, this was a laboratory which was founded by later academician Olli Lounasmaa, whose aim was to, well, reach very low temperatures and do fundamental research at very low temperatures initially. And this was kind of a seed or basis to also to go towards some important technologies. So for instance, I mentioned already these cryogenic techniques. So Blue Force, which is producing these dilution refrigerators, which are the basis for doing quantum technology on several platforms, is essential, and they are the market leader now these days. But this was developed in those years, in the 1970s in particular, already just to do basic research, but now we are in the situation where it is a very important technology. I can mention the other one here in the center, which was very active, or is still active, but it was active in the 1980s, is this magnetoencephalography. Why that? Because if you see the squares there, what they are representing the superconducting squids, so Josephson junction-based squids, which are in fact nowadays they are the superconducting qubits, or variation of them is a superconducting qubit. So we already had the technology to do things which are nowadays the heart in the heart of the superconducting quantum processors development. And this has been like the history, and little by little we came up to these superconducting circuits as such, which, and I must say that on this campus in particular, the superconducting technology has been the main direction or main platform on quantum technologies experimentally. But of course, this was basis, and we have a lot of things that are related, and also we have nowadays a lot of activities on quantum algorithms, and we have quantum sensing, and usually you hear about quantum computers, but quantum computers is just one part of quantum technologies that we are also here in Finland interested in. So I come towards the end of my short presentation here. So today's topic is really the Finnish quantum technology strategy. So this was the work that was commissioned by the Finnish Ministry of Economic Affairs and Employment, and the results were published in April this year. And this was the work led by Antti Vasara, at that time the head of the VTT, and it had many representatives from different organizations preparing this. And at the end, it turned out that InstituteQ plays and will play a central, at least a critical role in the execution of this quantum technology strategy, because kind of the competence direction is on our shoulders, and also the coordination of quantum research, education, infrastructures, innovation, and international cooperations. And this is what we will hear more in the speeches to come after this. So and in the discussion, and indeed. So I will welcome on the stage the main stars of today's discussion. So there is Dr. Pauliina Rajala, who is the InstituteQ's development manager, and then Dr. Himadri Majumdar, who is currently the CEO of the SemiQon, the quantum technology company focusing on semiconducting qubits and devices. So please.
Thank you, Jukka. And as Jukka said, I'm Pauliina Rajala. I'm leading the operational side of InstituteQ together with our director, Jukka. And I'm really delighted to welcome Himadri Majumdar here as your career path to the point where you are now provides excellent angle for you to comment various part of the strategy. So you are a physicist by education. You worked in the academy and research for quite a while before moving to VTT, the Research and Technology Organization, where you worked in the various roles of as a key account manager, as a lead of whole quantum portfolio, and before stepping to be a CEO and actually co-founder of SemiQon. So I'm really excited to hear your views and take-ons what the strategy means for us. You were also co-founder and you led the BusinessQ ecosystem, which was a crucial part of, or still is crucial part of InstituteQ. So you had your fingers in a soup in that place when we get started. BusinessQ is now kind of like taking new form as part of and being branded as an InnoQ, but there's still the same important role is there. But yeah, let's kick the discussion. So we have a QR code there, and you are welcome to submit the questions when we talk. We only welcome online questions since about half of the audience is online. But we'll do our best to answer to all of the questions, or many of them at least. So Himadri, today we have a mixed audience here. We have people with academic background, researchers, PhD students. We have the government, we have embassies, but we have also common public. For example, my aunt is joining online, and people like her really excited and knowledgeable about technologies, but not really an expert in quantum. So in short and brief way, how would you describe the importance of quantum technologies and what it entails?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you very much for your kind introduction, and hello everyone. Great to be here. Like Pauliina said, I do have a background in physics, but trust me, I haven't done a bit of physics for the last 10 years. So I would stay away from equations and not go into the quantum as such. But what I can tell you is perhaps my perspective now, looking at it from a commercial angle. As a kid, or when I was studying at university, quantum was fascinating, and I really, I mean, if you know about it, then great. If you don't, then there was this thing called quantum tunneling, right? So how can you go through a wall with something? I mean, that was mind-boggling as a youngster for me. But those were things which were possible in the quantum realm, and intuitively, it's very difficult to explain from a physical world perspective. But the answer that I got from my teachers in most cases was, well, the math works, so trust it. And I think I have gotten accustomed to the thing that the math works, so I would trust that. But that's the era, or those were the kind of groundwork in terms of quantum science. And what we grew up with and what we had seen is quantum science. Professor Pekkola already mentioned some of the applications of superconducting squids, for example, but that's going beyond science. There you see the technology in action. So I think that's the important aspect about quantum, that we can actually make things. We unknowingly use a few of those already, like the MEG instruments or GPS or some other tools where quantum effects are already there. But it's about making those quantum experiments evolve into something that you can use as products. That's what's exciting for me personally. And I mean, if it's just hot off the press that this year Nobel Prize was given to quantum experiments. And one aspect of that experiment, from my perspective, is how to make the quantum effects or the quantum experiments in a macroscopic way so that you can use it in a more practical application. So I think those of you who might be a bit intimidated by the aspects of quantum, don't be. It's a technology. It's a science which is proven. Now we are just seeing the technology take its own due course in finding its way into various different applications, computing, communication, sensing, and all these things. So it's an evolution from science to technology to products. That's how I would say it is.
Yeah, thanks. And if you would explore that thought further and explain how does quantum affect our everyday life now or like in near future?
Yeah, so like I said, we already see quantum phenomena in action in some of the things that we have, and there will be more coming up through quantum computing is another example. Before that, perhaps you will see quantum sensing in atomic clocks or magnetometers, which are very precise, which can help in various different ways. So one aspect is how do you do location mapping without GPS, because you can be jammed with GPS. So those kind of innovations might come out quicker, and those are the things that will be starting to affect our lives in a indirect way.
Yeah. Thank you. It was 2012, so 13 years ago, when I first had my brain scanned with the quantum technology brain scanner.
There you go.
So it was already, at that time, I did not really understand that it was quantum, but it was cool.
Yeah.
But today we are here as a part of Aalto-University's Design for a Cooler Planet exhibition and lecture series. And would you care to explore how quantum plays, or what role quantum plays in the future of sustainable future of our planet?
Sure. So I think this has been around. You can find it from various different articles that quantum computing has a very strong effect on how do we do materials modeling, how do we do chemistry, and how it can affect climate change and so on. But those are things in the future, and it's going to happen. But it's a step-by-step process. But what I think we should think of is more from a societal perspective in terms of sustainability. So I will elaborate this point a little bit, if I may. So the world has gone through various industrial revolutions, right? So the first industrial revolution in 1600s happened with trains and so on, and then came the later ones. And now we are at a stage where we are debating what would be the next industrial revolution. But one thing I believe everybody agrees with is the way we use technology, way we do compute, how do we measure things and analyze things, that's going to be an integral part of that. And if I take the example of AI, I mean, after the onset of ChatGPT, the energy consumption that has enormously grown, and it's going to grow, it's from my perspective, not sustainable. So we have to find innovative solutions that change that in some way. And quantum is one aspect of that. One can argue that, oh, yeah, quantum computers now consume a lot of energy. If you look at the roadmaps, they are going to consume a lot of energy. But then comes the point that, yes, of course, there has to be innovation to reduce those. And there has to be a way of perhaps measuring what is the information you get consuming how much energy and those things. Same for communication, same for sensing, and so on. So in a way, these are all going towards a sustainable kind of goal, but every innovation goes through a step where it first looks, oh, this is too much. This is perhaps not sensible to do. But that's not the way to perceive that. We have to go beyond the first impression, and then it starts to make sense that how, as humans, we have to grow. I mean, that's one aspect of it. Whether we grow sustainably or not is our choice. But I think inherently we start thinking about sustainable solutions, and quantum is no exception.
Yeah, thank you. And there's a lot of potential applications in the questions of optimization, reducing
Exactly.
The fuel consumption in shipping, for example, or developing new materials for solar panels or batteries. So
Right.
list can continue.
Yes.
But also climate modeling, the novel sensors providing feedback on deforestation, for example, or
Right.
fires.
Right.
So the link is there.
There is, yes.
So InstituteQ, if we jump back to the strategy part, we as InstituteQ, we play a quite big role in implementing the strategy. And we are, of course, working with domestic partners of like finding a ways of even more improving our work and as a process we go. So in April, Finland launched a 10-year strategy, looking 25 to 35. Why do we need the strategy like this from your point?
Well, we need a plan to go somewhere. So strategy, from my perspective, is a plan, and the reason we need it is multiple. First of all, we need to see how the technology is progressing, how research is progressing, and then how it will start impacting industry, and in effect, how it impacts society. So that's the steps. Those are the steps that we need to understand, and we need to figure out how they are going to grow. But then comes the question of ambition as well. That if we have a technology which is have a bit of uniqueness in the world, how do we leverage that? How do we make it grow better and faster than our competitors? How do we take advantage of that? So that's where the strategy comes in as well. And then eventually it all ends up in the point of how do we create industries which are export driven, that we can export and create wealth for Finland, and how do we create employment for young generation. But it's also going back to what Professor Pekola said in EduQ, that what are the education that needs to be planned? How do we plan the curriculum in university? So it all is very interlinked. So that's why we need to have a plan to do that. And strategy is exactly that.
So Finland is fairly one of the leading countries,
right,
in the EU, but globally as well in quantum technology maturity. And it's a result of long-term investment and the belief on the fundamental physics in the beginning, and then it's been grown.
Exactly.
And I think EU also published a quantum strategy this summer, a little after Finland did. And some people say that that's not ambitious enough, but here we can be as ambitious as we want and we should be.
Yeah.
But what do you feel like the strategy means for startups or small companies like SemiQon, for example?
Yeah, so strategy is a piece of paper and a document, which is good to have as a guideline, but it all boils down to execution. So how do we implement the strategy? And for us as small companies, that part is the most important part. So, for example, I think one of the aspects that you saw in the presentation of Professor Pekola is how infrastructure is important, right? And Finland has, for example, made a choice of building in infrastructures like Micronova, which is 200 meters from here. It's a unique infrastructure for developing hardware. And companies like us would not even dare to exist if those kind of infrastructures are not here. Because these are enablers, very strong enablers to allow this kind of development. And then another aspect is how do we compete, for example, with countries like US, which has very strong budgets and very strong players and so on. One thing that European Union has identified is innovation procurement. So government as a buyer of technology. And I think this is one aspect which drives young and new companies to innovate and deliver to the government as the first customer. And these kind of things are important aspects of any small company to start with. And the strategy and the ecosystem allows for that to happen. And then the final thing I would say is the ecosystem itself, that how do education, research, innovation, business, how do they work together? How is it a well-oiled machine that helps each other, that drives the innovation, drives the commercial aspects? And that is also a very important driver, because that brings competitiveness for us to be, let's say, continue to be a leading player globally. If we don't innovate quicker and faster, there is no option.
Yeah. Again, currently, when quantum is not fully mature yet, the public funding plays a quite big role in taking next steps, but it will be a transitional already within the next 10 years, I feel, when companies such as SemiQon or others will show their full potential, and then the private investments start playing a bigger role. And we need to be smart in that, and we need to have a trust in the public sector to continue this funding.
Right. And if I add to that, one aspect which is very important to understand is, I think there is a very strong discussion about deep tech, that deep tech needs funding, which I completely agree, that deep tech is innovation driven. And another Nobel Prize this year is about creative destruction from the economic side. And I think the power of creative destruction is enormous. So if we want to drive new innovation, then it's important to have deep tech startups. But then there is always a kind of tendency, I would say, from a company perspective, that if you're a deep tech company, then the expectation is lower that, oh, you will be successful in a future. And I think that's not the right approach, because when you start a company, you are a business. So your responsibility is to generate, let's say, revenue through customer interaction. So it's important to keep that in mind as well, that it's not a goalpost in the future, but it's something to work on right now as well. And ecosystem, again, it's very, very important. We'll probably discuss about the supply chain, but let's park that for later.
Yeah. Really great points. And if we look Finland today, we touched a little bit the international landscape already. But from your point, globally, where Finland stands today in quantum, and do you identify it like the bottlenecks or challenges for us?
Sure. I think one of the aspects that I really like about this timeline picture that we had in the presentation is it all actually started as a very interesting science experiment, right? So the whole idea was, how do you do experiment at a very low temperature? And then the second question was, how do you get to that low temperature? So the way of going to that low temperature was not the purpose. The purpose was to do the experiments at those low temperatures. But this way of going to those low temperatures became a very strong commercial opportunity. And Blue Force grabbed it. And they became, I think they have a more than 50% market share in cryogenic systems now. So these are amazing success stories, right? But there is a certain level of serendipity in that. So we did not plan that. It just happened. So science in many cases have this serendipitous aspect. But now when we are having a conscious strategy, we can, well, the way I see it is increase the probability of these serendipities. And it means that we have to have more chances of doing innovation. And there, I think, we can build on the past that we have, where we have had success like Blue Force and now IQM doing, hopefully SemiQon will follow and so on. But I don't think we should sit on that laurel that we are doing well. Others are doing well as well.
Right.
So we just have to keep up on that and keep on delivering on that. And having a head start is very good, but keeping that momentum going is much more important to stay ahead of the game.
Yeah, we need to stay relevant.
Yes.
And we need to partner up.
Yeah, collaboration.
Yeah,
yes,
collaboration
absolutely.
is a key.
Absolutely.
And obviously the talent, there's a global competition for talent in quantum, and quantum needs multiple different fields to support it, academics, but also like the mechanics and the commercial side.
Exactly.
As well. Well, if we fast forward to future, 10 years from now, at the end of our strategy now, that's not that far in the future. We both will be working at somewhere else and still enjoying the perks of quantum. What does success look at the end of our strategy period?
Yeah, well, I think first of all, a strategy is a 10-year roadmap. So that does not mean we are hitting a jackpot after 10 years. We hope to have very strong results. We hope to have a big presence in terms of global landscape. But I think a good way of looking at it is, and it often comes in my mind, is for example, looking at Taiwan, right? So we went through these various industrial revolutions, and the last one was telecommunication and IT, information technology. And there, Finland had a bit of it through Nokia, so we had the IT aspect there. But Taiwan took the strong aspect of hardware making. And this is an interesting aspect because it's not just they manufactured the hardware that goes into almost all electronics that we use now, but it's also of strategic geopolitical interest as well. And I think what we should or can potentially do in Finland as well, have that kind of high ambition. And hopefully we will have companies in Finland, I'm not just talking about hardware, I'm talking about software as well, which are globally very relevant and are intricately entangled in the global supply chain. So we are companies which are essential for, so for example, ASML in Netherlands is essential for chip making. They're making a lot of money. So hopefully these are the potential opportunities that Finland will be able to grab in quantum. And we will have companies which are globally relevant and generating a lot of revenue. So that would be my kind of expectation coming out of that 10-year tunnel.
Yeah,
there.
That sounds like a remarkable societal benefit for Finland.
Exactly.
Finland and the Finnish people. How do we get there?
Well, I hope I'm not the only one giving the answer. But yeah, well, it's a collaborative effort. And I think quantum is a very, very hard problem to solve for one entity by itself. And I think InstituteQ is amazing in that sense because it builds the platform for collaboration. And there you have education collaborating with research, research collaborating with innovation, innovation with industry, and so on. So that active exchange of ideas and exchange of, let's say, intellect is what's going to help us go quicker and help us go better as well. But it's also international collaboration. We should not do things in silos. We should collaborate with the partners that we are, let's say, comfortable in collaborating with. And there, one aspect which is very important is from a societal perspective, that we also need to start having a mindset, or let's put it this way, we have to be quantum native. I hope you all understand what I mean. So being AI native, being quantum native is important because that means that as a society we understand the importance of it, we encourage the new generation to study these topics, to explore the opportunities there. And that also generates a new level of workforce, which in turn allows for new innovation to flourish. So it's a cyclic process that has to continue. So if we are able to get that ball rolling, I think we will do quite well.
Yeah, indeed. And if we look at the numbers, the strategy outlines that we should have 10,000 new jobs,
right?
3 billion in turnover, and be preferred partner internationally.
Yes.
In 10 years, and these are impressive numbers.
Correct.
And they will have a big change of what.
But I mean, the numbers might look overwhelming looking at it from now, but it's a step-by-step process. So I think if we start working on it on a let's say smaller chunks, there is a possibility that we will be there.
Yeah, definitely. And we at the InstituteQ, we see our role in the multiple facets that in this process. Obviously, we focused quite a lot in the business and the innovation and business development, but also we need to grow the talent. We need to work together, build the future curriculum, what the future needs look like to build this kind of quantum literate society or quantum ready society. We need to educate the educators.
Yes, exactly.
We need to educate the businesses, and we need to lobby for fundamental research with the applied research, because quantum is still not that mature that we don't know where our knowledge gaps and opportunities might be in the future.
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly, and I think if we draw an analogy with let's say AI. AI in its form of machine learning has been there. It has been part of industrial activities for some time, but it had its ChatGPT moment when it sort of triggered. So quantum will probably also have its ChatGPT moment, but it will be later, exactly as you said. So, but it's about preparing for that.
And it's really exciting to think what it would look like to have a quantum moment.
Exactly. We don't know.
That. We don't know, and in what field it will come. Well, we touched a little bit of our vision. How do we reach the goal? But if we do look on the Finland owning the quantum value chain, and like Taiwan with the chips, for example, how if we achieve everything that we talked, and when we achieved, let's put it that way, what does it mean in the practice that we will have all that value chain, and what are the key pieces that we need to build for?
So I think, again, now we have to differentiate many different things. We have to differentiate between quantum computing, communication, sensing. There are different ways of building it, and then there is hardware and software. And from a hardware perspective, I think it's very important the Finnish companies are globally relevant. They become part of the global supply chain, and everybody comes to Finland to buy their chips or whatever the companies are selling. And then the software companies become the end user application providers, which all enterprise users want to have. It's like the iPhone of quantum computing or something in those lines that everybody wants to have, and it's a must-have. So those are the elements that we need to get to. And it's also very important as well, again, from a geopolitical perspective, that if you are one critical supply chain, as a small country, our relevance in the world becomes much higher than just being a innovative country. We are so much entangled in the global supply chain, everybody will care more deeply about us in that sense.
And it's the view of hardware and infrastructure that we already have here, but we are building to grow in that. That is usually a thing that will not relocate that easily,
Exactly.
and the know-how of operating that will remain as a valuable part of the ecosystem here.
Exactly.
And then software needs will be growing.
Yep.
That will be a kind of like exponential growth from my perspective. When the quantum, whether it's a sensors or computing, when they mature, we will need to have exceeding number of people working in the software, but also companies that are investing in the software, buying, trying out.
Yes.
And in the software side, I feel like what we can do is to provide diverse education on that. It's like the applied University of Applied Sciences or even the vocational level.
Correct.
Because we need to have the software developers and coders that are quantum literate.
Yes, exactly.
At least in the basic levels.
Exactly.
And if you want to wrap up our final thoughts.
Sure. I think that very nice discussion. Thanks. I think what we have to understand is, first of all, quantum is a very complicated thing, and it's very hard to understand what it is, and then it's harder to understand what the implications will be. But it will have a strong kind of, let's say, effect on society. We might not feel it coming in, but it will slowly start going in. For example, we didn't touch upon security. So how important it will become to encrypt our data properly, so that they are not kind of affected by quantum, and so on. So I think it's as a country, we are on a very good track. We had a very good head start, and now having the strategy in place, having InstituteQ in place, having the ecosystem kind of coming together, is a boost in the right direction. And if we now execute everything properly, like I said, end of 10 years out of the tunnel, we will emerge very strongly.
Thank you. And it was great that you brought up the security point of view, because indeed that's a quite big part of the strategy, the quantum key distribution and post-quantum cryptography, and how Finland can be one of the leading countries also implementing those in the critical infrastructure, but in all business.
I mean, we have amazing 5G and 6G expertise already, so we just can piggyback right on that. So.
I think that's very native for us to be
exactly.
comfortable working on that. And thank you. I would like to open the floor for questions, and maybe we can still chit-chat a bit. Let me open this iPad, which has almost quantum safe cryptography because it's so long. All right. So when we have a question comparing Finnish strategy with other European strategies, Finnish strategy does not specify any budget plan. Implementation needs financial support from government. How practical it would be to implement the plan with the current strategy? How about the private investment?
Excellent question. Excellent question. And I think first, there are two aspects to it. First aspect is, I think it's globally recognized that Finland has done more for less. And there are countries who can and are throwing a ton of money and trying to accelerate the development, but it doesn't work like that. You have to be very strategic. You have to know what to put money on and how to do it. And the underlying aspect of the Finnish quantum strategy is figuring out where to put money, how to build the infrastructure, how do we build a supercomputer, quantum computer kind of infra, how do we build hardware manufacturing infra. So those are the identifications that we have to do. And then, of course, the government has to decide on how to allocate budget. So nothing can be done without money, 100%. So that's where it comes in. And the second part, which is the private investment, this is an excellent point in terms of what we have been discussing as public-private collaboration, partnerships, PPPs. And there, unfortunately, the private aspect in Finland is a bit weaker than many European countries. So I mean, even compared to our Swedish partners, there are foundations there. In Denmark, Novo Nordisk Foundation just backed a 300 million investment fund just for quantum. And we do not have those in Finland. But I think having successful companies who are generating revenue actually attracts more private funds. So we should be able to, or we should try to get private funds in more.
Yeah. As you said, Finland is known to do a lot with quite a little. And the key for that is the strong spirit of collaboration. Exactly. And I see that exceedingly important point for going forward with our strategy work and beyond that. But wouldn't it be nice that one day we sit here and we're like, Finland is doing so much with so much.
Yeah, sure.
And how do we get that? So next question is, how is the private equity funding of quantum compared to AI, and how would you expect it to develop?
Yeah, well, AI is taking a lot of air out of the room for quantum right now. So, which is understandable. Private investments are driven by what's the return of investment. So if somebody wants their money to be X'd quickly, then of course AI is the way to go. But patient investment is essential for quantum. And there are some investors. I mentioned one of these funds that just came out from Denmark, and there are some patient investors who actually invest. But unfortunately, and this was one discussion I had in Brussels yesterday, there is a gap when it comes to small funds and big funds. In quantum, small funds are available. You can even try European Union funding like EIC Accelerator program with equity coming in. There is a STEP program which gives 30 million to companies as matching funds. But then when you talk about big money, let's say 100 million plus, that's where it starts getting a bit painful. And this is where there is a fear that European companies might not stay European at that stage. So, but I'm sure policymakers are aware of it, and they are in discussion with private investors. And I hope there will be a path forward in that.
Yeah. And from my point of view, in Finland, we have not discussed a lot about regulation and regulation needs. Of course, we have talked about standardization, but that regulation plays a little bit role in keeping the European companies in the Europe, potentially in the future. So that might be the one discussion where we end up at some point.
We can have a debate about it, because if I put on my company hat or have my company hat on, regulations are not something that we want to see, and regulations should never be the way to limit operational capacity of a company. But yes, regulations are absolutely essential, but I think you can hear a lot of buzz about regulations in AI and how US is handling it, how Europe is handling it, and so on. Let's not go there.
Yeah, people are not very happy.
Yeah.
Indeed, lesson learned there.
Yes, exactly.
Let's not have that AI moment in quantum.
Exactly. That's a good point.
So are we committing enough resources executing the strategy here in Finland, Finnish quantum strategy?
Very good question as well. We don't know yet. I mean, the strategy just came out recently, so we are hoping we will have resources available at our disposal to do it. But I think so far, during my days at VTT, we struggled with resources, but we managed to open doors by making Finland a cherishable destination for quantum experts. So we had people coming in from various parts of the world to collaborate and work with us. And then as a company, I mean, we are a 25-person company now, and we have 8 nationalities already. So quantum is one topic where you have to rely on expertise, and you have to get expertise at any cost. So if you need somebody with a certain expertise, you have to get that individual. I think you can see that happening in AI in the US, where individuals are getting crazy amount of offers to join certain companies. Quantum is not there, of course, but it's a similar kind of resource need there. And I would say in InstituteQ, from the EduQ perspective, we have been very agile in educating new generation and bringing in new talent. So we very actively look for interns in the company, and we have been very fortunate with getting interns locally. So it's always better to get somebody here whom we can train over the years.
Yeah, and then still we are in the phase when each company have very specific needs and the business niche. So you will need to educate your experts there.
Exactly.
Quantum strategy in Finland is 5 months old.
Yeah.
So from our discussions at InstituteQ with the government, for example, when we are measuring the first steps and first KPIs, first boxes that have been ticked, we are doing quite well. Yep. But I think it's for the future to be seen that how well the resources match our needs.
Exactly.
But Finland, as we are used to collaborate, quite like from bottom up and model. We have a dialogue.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we can identify resources in 2 ways. One is human resources, and the other is financial resources. Right. So we should eliminate the obstacle of human resources in any way possible. Financial resources, yes, well, that we have certain limitations how to do with it, but we can use the money smarter. But human resources, we will always have to be very, very aggressive in getting the right talents educated or right talents into the country.
Yeah, definitely agree. So if we do look at the IPR side, how do we protect it in this very competitive environment?
Yeah,
where we do need to collaborate at the same time.
Of course. And it's an active discussion between various companies in the local ecosystem as well. How do we protect IPs? Because at the end of the day, quantum is one domain where big boys are playing. So IBM, Google, and Microsoft, and the likes of those are playing. So if they use their muscles, there is a potential for some problems. But I think we as a country, we are doing quite okay in terms of IP. We are. I think I don't remember the numbers, but we are quite high in terms of IP generation in Finland. So we have to just keep on doing that. We have to protect whatever we do. I know. I mean, I will touch upon this very briefly. I know from a university perspective, when you are doing a PhD, it's always more interesting to publish the paper and get your PhD work done. And having an IP at that point is kind of like a blockade because you cannot publish until it's going through a certain stage. But it's a critical balance because if you do not protect certain IP, and when I say IP, I don't mean patents. I mean know-how as well. There is a possibility that we might lose. So if we publish everything prematurely. So protecting IP is extremely important, and we should do that. And sometimes not even publishing it is having it as a know-how or a trade secret is a better weapon.
Yep. And we do have, my feeling in the Finnish landscape is that we are fairly in a good position with our expertise and know-how about protecting IP. But then, as you said before, these attractive offers come and we lose the know-how, and that is maybe the leakage of the IP quite quickly.
It is.
And from that, I had where does SemiQon stand in the global or national supply chain? Like if you go back to wearing your CEO of SemiQon hat very deep in your head.
Sure. So SemiQon is very much integral part of the global supply chain. We positioned ourselves that way. So if I very quickly tell you what the SemiQon story is. So we built cryogenic CMOS. So CMOS, or electronics that works at cryogenic temperatures. And the reason they are of interest is, of course, quantum computers. So when you build a quantum computer, you need electronics to go in. And if you look at the size of the quantum computers, you will see that they are growing in size. And there is a reason for that, because you need a lot of cables, a lot of infrastructure to build these big machines. So if you can put the electronics that works at cryogenic temperatures, you can get rid of a lot of cables and other paraphernalia. So that's one aspect that we are addressing. And there we are supporting many different ways of building quantum computers, not just superconductors, but semiconductors, photonics to some extent as well, ion traps, and so on. So we are trying to get into that market. And then CryoCMOS is also interesting from a space application perspective as well. So we are exploring that. So even though we are quote unquote a quantum company, but like I said in the conversation, that it's important for us to behave like a company and generate revenue. So we will try to figure out any possible way we can make money. And then at the end of the day, we do have a moonshot. And the moonshot is we would like to incorporate the cryogenic electronics or CryoCMOS together with the qubits. And we make it what we call a quantum integrated circuit. But that quantum integrated circuit moment is a bit far away. But that's the moonshot.
Okay, thank you for sharing the views. And hopefully not too much the IP. How can the decision makers help the quantum industry in Finland to stay relevant?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question and very relevant question, which is going rounds. Because if you meet policymakers, they are very keen on helping because they know this is one opportunity that Finland cannot and should not lose, but they don't know how to help. So I think one of the key aspects would be within the InstituteQ structure to bring in policymakers to help them understand how they can help. So, for example, what kind of infrastructure should Finland invest in? What kind of, let's say, talent boost programs should Finland invest in? What kind of funding instruments can companies have so that they can grow? And these kind of things are very, very valuable as support. But what I think the industry agrees is for the policymakers to enable us to do our work, but reduce the regulations so that it doesn't hinder the progress or the path of growth. So that's another critical balance, so that they understand what they can help. So I can give you one example where quantum was very early tried to be regulated through export control, and there were reasons for doing that. And in Finland, it would have hurt us if we agreed to that. So we made a bit of pushback that this should not be okayed. And the ministry listened to us and they negotiated and we reached a middle ground. So these are the things that we should keep them aware of, that does not come and bite us back in that sense. And strategy is, again, very, very important for that purpose.
Thank you for sharing. And Finland is quite unique position compared to other countries because we have a long history of developing these strategies bottom up and in very engaging and collaborative manner. So in this process of creating the strategy, a lot of different groups are very engaged, and I think it really shows through the strategy.
It does, yes.
But if I finish the Q&A session with very fundamental question. Are the expectations towards quantum realistic, or are there lots of hype inflating it?
It depends on what you are reading, and I think you can find a lot of hype that goes in quantum, but there are also people who give realistic expectations, and I think this expectation mismatch is getting better. It was crazy 3 years ago, but now it's getting better. And from my perspective, what I would say is see the results. Don't listen to people, but see the results. And there you can find, for example, quantum sensors getting integrated into products. You can see quantum communication being done between cities and towns and so on. So those are good examples to follow, rather than somebody writing an op-ed or something saying, oh, the quantum AI is here and now. That's nice to hear, but without proof, that's just words. So yeah, I try to stay away from hype myself, and I recommend everybody. If you are in doubt, always go and talk to experts. And InstituteQ have a lot of experts, so it's good to have this kind of interaction and understand what is real, what is not. So.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm on the same lines with you. And thank you for coming and sharing your views. Thank you for all the audience being here, audience online being here, and the exciting questions that you submitted. And I would welcome you all now to explore the Design for Cooler Planet exhibition here. And Himadri, hopefully you are staying here
Yes.
for a little while. So please approach Himadri or myself and big applause.
Yeah, thank you very much.